Hey, and welcome to day 3 of 365-ish days reading the Bible and going through the Bible together. So day 3 is Genesis 8 through 11, chapter 8 through 11. We are reading chronologically. I personally read the New Living Translation, so this is my Bible, if you guys want to grab it yourself. The New Living Translation is just easier for me to read because it's a little bit more wordy than the New King James Version. The King James Version is just too many withers and thous, and New Living Translation, I feel like it's speaking the same lingo I speak. So yeah, grab you a Bible that you understand, because the Bible does say, in all you're getting, get an understanding. It doesn't make sense if you're reading the Bible and it's like if it sounds like a different language to you, try a different Bible. Really quick plug, the Bible app, you can download it onto any phone, any device. I believe it's just called the Bible app. That thing is amazing because you can literally highlight the scripture you're reading and then click compare, and it will give you that same exact scripture in every other translation of the Bible. Read the other translation, see which one is easiest for you to understand, and start there. Read the whole Bible in that translation, and then you can work your way back to the King James Version if you so please. Anyway, let's jump into Genesis 8 through 11. Remember, this year I'm not reading the Bible verbatim for you because it didn't work out last year. We got to 112 or 13 days, and it was just way too hard for me to sit here and read the Bible directly to the camera and then also try to talk about it with you guys and also be mommy and also have my own Bible time. So we're doing our own personal reading, our own quiet time with God, and then we'll just check in the comments. You can comment what your takeaways were, or if there was anything that blew your mind that day, and on here I'll just share my takeaways, and we'll go like that. So Genesis chapter 8, we see the flood receding. We see that Noah has been on the boat for over 7 months before he even sees land. Imagine being in a circumstance where it never rained before. Never ever rained before. And God's like, build a boat because it's gonna rain. What? So then you're spending years building this boat. Then he says, get on this boat, you and your family, and take a pair of each animal. Okay, questionable. But Noah was so obedient, because I would have been like, well, what's rain? What do you mean it's gonna rain? Water doesn't pour down from the sky. It comes up from the bottom, and there's a mist or whatever. What are you talking about? Yeah, I would have been in trouble. Anyway, they've been on the boat. 7 months go by. Eventually they start to see the peak of mountains. They don't see humans. They can't get out the boat yet. But that must have took a crazy amount of trust. And then for me, I was just like, that had to be terrifying on top of that. So, because I'm someone who I like to know what's going on, so you're telling me something new is going to happen. I have no control. That's what trusting God is, I guess. I have no control over these circumstances. I have to put my family in this boat with all these animals. It probably smelled really bad inside that boat. And we are stuck in this boat. And I have no idea when I can get out of this boat. It is dark outside. There is water. We're probably getting seasick. That. I thank God for the time he brought me to. So yeah, that's what happened in chapter 8. Eventually they're able to get off the boat. Thank God. And the first thing Noah does is build an altar to the Lord and offer a burnt sacrifice. And the Lord was pleased. And because of that, he says, I will never again curse the ground because of the human race. Even though everything they think or imagine is bent toward evil, I will never again destroy all living things. As long as the earth remains, there will be planting and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night. I never realized that the seasons were because of God being pleased with humanity at the moment, because Noah was humanity. There goes my light again. I gotta remember to charge that thing. But because of that offering, how pleased he was, that is God's another promise that there will be seasons, and he won't curse the ground again. The seasons we see is confirmation that God's not going to curse the ground that we walk on. That's a beautiful thing. I never realized that before, so that was pretty cool to see. And then we go into chapter 9. So God says, I won't curse the ground. That's the first thing he says after Noah gets off the boat. The second thing he says is, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth. God is like, get it on. And I thought that was pretty cool, because one of the first thing God said in Genesis chapter 1, going back to the beginning, was be fruitful and multiply. I believe that was the first thing. Yes, he created man and female, and he blessed them, and then he said, so the first thing he said to us was be fruitful and multiply. And then again, after he basically wipes out humanity, it's one of the first things, it's the second thing, but it's top priority. Be fruitful and multiply, repopulate, be fruitful. When I hear be fruitful, create. create is another word that comes up for me. Like, you should be reproducing, you should be multiplying, you should be creating, because you are made in his image and likeness. The end of chapter 9, we see that God places a rainbow in the sky, and he says that this is his covenant with us. So now he's made two covenants. One is, well, the seasons aren't specifically called a covenant, but it's just like a reminder that there will be hot and cold and all of that, so that he won't curse the ground. But God himself calls the rainbow a covenant, and he says, I will remember my covenant with you and all living creatures, and never let floodwaters destroy all life again. So the rainbow is not only a sign for you, but God himself says, I will remember. So it's a sign for us to remember the flood and the promise after the flood, but also for God to remember, to hold himself accountable. So our God is an accountable God, and that's why it's also important for us to hold each other accountable and hold ourselves accountable if God's holding himself accountable. So I thought that was pretty cool. It doesn't matter what I think. The Bible's the Bible, but yeah, I thought that was pretty cool that he holds himself accountable too. And then the end of chapter 9, we see this instance where Noah had a little bit too much to drink. He falls into a stupor, and some of his sons take advantage of this moment, and it reminded me of going back into the garden when God created them to be naked and they felt no shame. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw that his father was naked and went outside and told his brothers. This is 9 verse 22. So nakedness had shame to it because of what happened in the garden, because it all goes back to the garden. Luckily, Noah's other two sons didn't make a big deal out of this. They just covered up their father. But shame, God did not intend us to feel shame over our bodies. That was something that came from the serpent and coming from the tree and going after Eve, and so it's just interesting to see how like these little things are still lingering. This is now, humanity has been wiped out, and now here it is being pulled in, this seed of shame, this seed of sin, this seed of disobedience being pulled into this new generation. Noah was the only man from his generation that survived, and it's like that little tiny bit, like he was the one who found favor in the Lord, but now his son has this seed of shame that grew and somehow passed down and is now bringing it into this new world, so to speak. Chapter 10, we see the account of the families of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. I don't know how to say it properly. So again, we see lots of names, but this is so important because this is the lineage. These are who these people are. This is history, and eventually it will lead us to Jesus. And then chapter 11 was about the Tower of Babel, and I always was just like, okay, a bunch of people got together, they were speaking the same language, and they were trying to get to heaven, like, what's the big deal? But then I have it highlighted here, chapter 11, verse 4, come, let us build a great city for ourselves, with a tower that reaches into the sky. This will make us famous and keep us from being scattered. They weren't building the tower to get to God. They were building the tower for themselves. Their intentions were off. It could have been a whole different story had they been like, come, let us build a tower so we could see God's glory. No, they were doing it to big up themselves. And so that's where we're ending today, because I gotta be mama.